how do we actually perceive something? Therefore, how do we determine what it is and what it isn't? There's actually different versions of how we determine something.
It absolutely
It's
is.
split up. Most people don't think about it that much, really. I determine it based on my instinct, but instinct's based on something bad that happened to me or whatever.
That's right.
Fear-based.
Yes, yes.
So this, in particular, the shifting, has a process in which there's different ways to determine. What are they?
Well, I think that one of the things that we need to understand, and if we look to here, look to this information here, where we talk about genetic determinism, where we are taught it's in our DNA. So if somebody says to me, you know, your father had a bad temper, that's why you've got a bad temper. That's it. There's no more conversation about it. Then we can talk about psychic determination or determinism. And your parents did it to you. You were raised that way. That's the structure of your character based on the way you were raised. So it might be some people are very afraid to speak in public. Well, that's how you were raised. You know, it was a scary thing to speak in public.
So are you talking about we are, enter surname, and we don't do these things?
That's right. Yeah, that's not how we do it.
It's a declaration before even someone's had a go at it.
And it can be, absolutely. Bit challenging.
Well, it's hard to get it past from that mantle.
And the very last one is the environmental determinism. And that is it's someone else's responsibility. My spouse did it to me. Oh, my work colleague did it to me. Oh, my boss did it to me. Instead of thinking about what is my role in all of this. So it's a very interesting space.
But you're not talking about taking blame for it. You're just talking about your role in it.
Yeah, but it could come across as blame.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say, well, I made that mistake. It was a genuine mistake. I'm going to say, oh, no, so-and-so didn't do that, so that's why I didn't get this done.
But there's a lot of people that for confidence reasons, or those other monkeys on their back, they're sort of taking the whole blame and they shouldn't. And there's some people that really should take some blame and should just be quiet. You know what I mean? Like it's somewhere in between, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I would really say, I'd like to see people not talk about blame and talk about accepting. Accept the situation for what it is and let's learn from it.
Okay.
So if I haven't finished something by a deadline, instead of my supervisor just going, you know, getting really cranky and angry and having a go at me, it could be useful to say, could you tell me what happened and why it's not done? Could I help you to get that done? Were you missing something? You will find you'll get much better buy-in, productivity will go up, instead of a passive-aggressive approach to, well, if you've had a go at me, you can wait. And this happens in the real world, it happens in families.
So the sort of the acceptance isn't any loss of face, it's just acceptance of what we have and acknowledging it there and then.
That's exactly right.
And moving on.
Absolutely, and what can we do about it to fix it?
So if you think about all those three, they're almost like a checklist then.
Well, they are, and they're the things that's the external control that we've actually been raised in. That's what we've learnt in the world today. If you stopped and thought about it, I mean, I know personally, I'm a Virgo, my father's a Virgo.
Right.
So, and my father had an obsession with being on time. I'm a bit the same. So what's to come to me in messaging has often been, well, you're just like your father.
Yeah.
He was like that, and
so
maybe not.
And you might love to be on time, but also you've sort of been given that mantle that even if you want to be more relaxed, you couldn't.
Well, possibly.
Because you've been given that persona.
Yeah, and one thing that I learnt very quickly when I had my first child, don't worry about being on time.
Yeah, yeah.
These things can happen.
But what I'm saying is life, in the topic of this particular workshop is the shift happens on you. You've got to scale it up or scale it back.
Yeah, and once I learnt about this, it was almost freeing. It was like, okay, well, what is the other way to be? And there is another way to be that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Excellent.